Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Samuel, and today we'll be looking at fundamental UI principles that would improve your UI designs. Now there are several ways to improve your UI designs, and we'll be taking them one after the other. So let's look at the first one. Now the first one is minimizing usability risks. Now one way to do that is to avoid thin gray text. We do that because we want the users to be able to read what we're writing. Now I know gray text kind of makes your design very nice, very subtle, but sometimes it's not. Even though you might see it, it might be hard for most users to read. So there's a definite shade of gray that you could work with, and I'll show you later in the video, that can work with text, and ones that can just be for borders and the likes. Now if you're building projects that are using icons that are very popular, like maybe settings icon, like icon, profile icon and the likes, cart icon, search icon, you could do without the labels. But for a new project or a complex project that the icons are not so distinct, you might want to use labels to represent those icons. Another thing is to avoid color text. Now color text will give the impression that text might lead to another page. So most times just go with dark text. You're using color text, it means okay, I want you to click on this because I have something else to show you. Now if you look at this design, you can see where we represented our colors with the 38 reviews and the book now. So we're indirectly telling them these are the only actionable buttons that you could work with. While here it's giving a lot of distractions, attentions, and it's all over the place. Now minimize interaction cost. Now one way to look at this is to keep related actions close to make it faster to hit the target. Now if you look at these two buttons over here, we have this is our scroll, and this is, so even though they might not look that far from each other, you can see it's much easier to use it from here. You hit this to go next, and you're good. Reduce distraction like animated banners, pop-ups, or unnecessary visuals to keep users focused. Now when we do this, I know there are times you love to do like some transitions and animations and subtle visuals. The thing is, while that is good, when you want your users to make some certain decisions, you would just need to do away with that so that they are focused on the actions they need to take. Minimize choice to make it faster for users to make decisions, and that's exactly what we said in the other part. Now if you look at these examples, it will take literally 4 clicks for a user to add the cart here. Now it's not much, but since we can reduce it, it's just better. For example, you will click this to show the drop down, you will select 2, that's another click, then you come back here and click this again. Whereas here you just click this once and you add to cart. In most cases, some even you can just type the number here and you're good to go. So most times when you find you have ways where you can minimize interaction, you just have to do it. It will help your users. These are very subtle things, but they go a long way in the entire experience of your product. Now minimize cognitive load. Now ways of doing that is to remove unnecessary styles information that may distract the user, break up information into smaller groups, minimize choice to make it faster for users to make decisions, maintain consistency so elements can look simple and similar, create visual hierarchy to show level of importance. Now if we look at that example, this form is not so bad, it's not so long, but there are better ways to do it. Now in the use case, this form is looking like a survey form. And if you notice, one thing about surveys is most times the user may not necessarily want to do it, but how you present it might key into them doing it. For example, now when you throw it at this, the user might feel overwhelmed, even if it's just 4 questions. But when you give them like this and you elaborate the title, he has the tendency to read it because you've made it important. We enlarge the text or the question to make it important, and we show the options, and if he sees things that relate to it, you can just like tap this, go to the next, tap this, go to the next. By the time he has answered 2 questions already, he's just going to fill it out. That's why if you notice in applications like maybe all these health applications or gym applications whereby they need to work on your diet or work on your gym programs. They ask you lots of questions, but they don't just throw everything at you at once. You take it step by step so that you're not overwhelmed and you're able to complete the process and get on board with the program. Design for accessibility. Make sure your designs meet web content accessibility guidelines. Consider users with disability when designing. Now, this is as good as saying that if you're designing, you should consider the color contrast. Web content accessibility guidelines have lots of ways of guiding you how your users look at your product, like reading from left to right, the way the eye scans and other stuff like that. But most especially look out for contrast and designing for people with needs, whether you might need to use voice or you might need to use large text or thereabouts. So it depends on you. Now, if you look at our examples today, these two examples are not so distinct from each other, but depending on the user, it might pose a little difficulty. Let's take the first one. Now, this is very good for any user, that has a very good eyesight. But the thing is, if you notice carefully, this one has a very light gray text. Now, while it still works, it will be hard for certain users that are struggling to see, to understand it. Now, if you also notice, the 38 reviews has no link. Now, I know these days we kind of like design links to not have this upper link, but recently I've discovered that there are reasons why we do that. Now, if you have people that are colorblind, it might be hard for them to understand it. For example, look at this example here. Now, currently, to someone that is colorblind, there's only one action that really speaks to him, and that's the book. Now, it feels like a button, so he's likely going to do that. But you have another alternative action, which is check the reviews. But now, when you see this might help someone that is colorblind. When he has this, it feels that this gives the impression that this is a link. I can interact with this. I can interact with this. So when designing, it's good to check for, design for more people, design for more audience, and there have you. So these two designs actually work. This particular design, because it's the same thing, it works for both someone that is visually has color blindness and those that are working fine. So yeah, these are now most of these UI kits I created with the Go to UI kit, which you can find. I'll drop the link with you. So I also spoke about the kind of grays that you should use. Our UI kits have all types of grays, and if you check, it has all the colors available. And here's where I look at the gray on our color. Now, if you notice, what I do is for gray, from anything 500 and below, you use for corners, use for dividers, use for maybe the fonts border or thereabouts. For 600 and above, I kind of like use it for the text. It just works well for that. Now, on this UI kit, I have Enter with all the font styles, headings, and everything. You will see lots of them. And we also have the color styles. And if you like the effects that you've seen, I usually use soft shadows for most of the card effects. You can use soft shadow, and I have grid layout. The one I used for my presentation was Desktop Web Design 3. So you can play around with this. Just go to your community, search for the Go to UI kits, and you will get around. I'll drop the link on the description below. So if you had a great time, do subscribe and have a lovely weekend.